What did the ancient Greeks see in the dark of a cave or the endless blue horizon? They didn't see emptiness, they saw eyes, wise, wild, and eternal. But what if these weren't just myths? Today we open a portal to a world forgotten by time. Step through with me and let us look upon the Great Bestiary together. Close your eyes and let your imagination carry you back 3,000 years to a time when hours flowed differently and the boundaries between reality and myth had not yet been drawn with the dry ink of textbooks. Imagine an early morning on the coast of the Aegean Sea. The air here is cool and dense, smelling of iodine, sea-washed kelp, and the faint, elusive scent of wild rosemary clinging to the cliffs. The sun has not yet risen, and the world is painted in deep, velvety shades of blue and pearl. In this pre-dawn silence, it feels as though the earth itself is holding its breath. To the ancient mind, nature was not a soulless collection of resources. It was alive, unsouled, and incredibly majestic. Every grotto hidden in the shadow of sheer cliffs could be a threshold to another dimension. Every ancient oak, its roots twisting deep into the stony soil, could be the home of a dryad, whose whispers were mistaken for the rustle of leaves. The ancient Greek bestiary, which we shall explore today, is not merely a catalog of fantastic creatures. It is a map of the human soul, attempting to find harmony with the mighty elements. In those days, people believed the world was inhabited by beings who stood a step above us, yet did not seek dominion. They were the keepers of balance. Look toward the horizon. Where the sky meets the water, the first rays of light are born. At this moment, it is especially easy to believe that a golden triton is about to emerge from the sea foam, or that from behind the nearest crag something will take flight, its wings glowing with celestial fire. We begin our journey through this sacred geography. We shall not hurry. We will walk the paths of gods and heroes, peer into deep forests, and ascend peaks shrouded in eternal mist. Our goal is not to study dry facts, but to feel that tremor of awe and wonder that our ancestors felt when looking at the stars, wondering who is looking back at them from the infinite heights of Olympus. Settle in comfortably. Let the bustle of the modern world remain at the threshold. We are entering a world where legends come to life and stones remember the footsteps of those who were here before us. Welcome to the forgotten garden of Hellas. Let us leave the seashore behind and ascend higher to where the air becomes thin and pure, as clear as mountain crystal. In the minds of the ancient Greeks, the sky was not a void. It was filled with ether, a radiant substance inhabited by beings of the highest order. Picture the summit of Mount Helicon. Here, among the stones, flows the Hippocrene spring. Legend tells us it was born from the strike of Pegasus's hoof. But look closely at the image of the creature itself. Pegasus is not merely a horse with wings. He's the embodiment of celestial thunder and, at the same time, the finest poetic inspiration. His coat is not just white, it possesses a pearlescent sheen, reflecting all the colors of a dying sunset. When he spreads his vast wings, their span eclipses the sun, casting a shadow upon the earth like a light drifting cloud. The ancient Greeks believed that to hear the clap of his wings was to touch eternity. The flight of Pegasus was unlike the flight of a bird. It was a graceful glide along the invisible currents of fate. Feel this sound. The whistle of the wind through the primary feathers, the steady rhythmic beat of a heart capable of withstanding the immense pressure of the celestial spheres. For a poet of that time, Pegasus was a bridge. And if you managed to saddle him in your dreams, you brought back from the world of the gods verses that would not die for centuries. He is a symbol that the human spirit, like this winged horse, is capable of tearing itself away from the dust of the earth and rising to the very zenith. But the sky held other guardians, more stern and majestic. We transport ourselves to the north, to the distant Ripaean mountains, where eternal winter meets golden dawns. Here dwell the griffins. Imagine a creature in which two of the greatest predators merged, the lion and the eagle. The golden body of a lion symbolized earthly power and royalty, while the eagle's head with its piercing golden eyes represented celestial keenness and unreachability. The griffins in our bestiary are not aggressors, but eternal sentinels. The ancients described them as the guardians of the gold of the gods. But by gold in Gizo, they understood not just metal, but knowledge itself, the light of truth. Listen to the description of their nests. Griffins built them of pure gold upon the most inaccessible peaks, where no mortal could ever reach. Their cry was like the sound of cracking ice. It echoed for many miles, warning, "Here human ambitions end, and the territory of the sacred begins." Observe their movements. When a griffin lands upon a crag, its talons leave deep furrows in the stone, and the enormous wings folded behind its back resemble the cloak of a great commander. They personified vigilance itself. The ancient man believed as long as the griffins looked down from the peaks upon the world of men, order would be preserved. They are a living reminder that greatness requires responsibility, and true treasures need protection, not from hands, but from unworthy thoughts. Between the light, almost ghostly Pegasus and the heavy, majestic griffin, there existed an unspoken balance. One creature gave the dream, the other guarded the boundaries of that dream. Together they created a symphony of the sky which people watched with awe, understanding that there, in the heights, life continues according to its own wiser and more ancient laws. Now, our imagination leads us down into the valleys of Arcadia. Leave behind the open spaces. We enter beneath the vaults of an ancient forest, where the crowns of giant oaks and pines entwine so tightly that sunlight reaches the ground only in rare, trembling golden threads. The air here is thick and humid. It smells of resin, bitter fern, and old bark covered with hoary gray moss. Listen closely. This forest is not silent. Beneath your feet, dry twigs snap, but somewhere deep in the thicket, another sound is heard. A steady, heavy thud of hooves that does not belong to a deer. This is the world of the centaurs. The ancient Greeks saw in centaurs a great dichotomy, a struggle between animal instinct and human reason. Most centaurs were like mountain torrents, fierce, wild, living in the power of instantaneous impulses. But among them rose the figure of Chiron. Imagine him, not a monster but a sage, whose cave on Mount Helicon was the first university of mankind. Peer into the details of his life. In his abode, it smells of dried medicinal herbs and old parchment. Chiron did not simply gallop through the woods. He studied the movement of the stars and the secret properties of plants. His hands, as strong as his hooves, could tenderly hold a lyre. When he began to play, it seemed the forest itself stood still. The birds ceased their singing, and predators lay down at the entrance of his cave. It was the image of the ideal teacher, one who subjugated his beastly power to a higher goal. Through Chiron, the ancients told us, true strength is not in destruction, but in the ability to create and pass knowledge to future generations. But if the centaurs were the embodiment of strength and wisdom, then in the deepest thickets dwelt those who were responsible for the joy and chaos of life, the satyrs and sileni. Imagine the twilight. You see the glint of a campfire between the tree trunks and hear the sharp, plaintive sounds of a syrinx flute. Satyrs, beings with goat-like legs and mischievous eyes, were the soul of the wild nature. They did not build cities or write laws. Their life was an endless dance. Feel this vibe, the warmth of a night fire, the taste of wild wine, and the primal rhythm of a dance that makes the earth tremble. Satyrs reminded people that in each of us lives a piece of wild nature that cannot be completely tamed. They were the companions of Dionysus, the god of ecstasy and liberation. In their presence, time stopped. There was no past, no future, only the moment filled with music and laughter. And somewhere here in the shadowy pools of forest streams dwelt the dryads, the nymphs of the trees. They were so closely tied to their oaks that they felt every fallen branch. An ancient woodcutter never raised an axe without asking forgiveness from the spirit of the tree. It was a religion of deep respect for the living world. And if you lean against the trunk of an old plane tree, you might feel a faint, slow heartbeat. This is not imagination. This is the life of the forest itself, which in the antique world had a face, a voice, and a name. Leave the forest shadows behind. We emerge at the edge of a high cliff beneath which stretches an infinite, dazzlingly blue mirror of the Mediterranean. The ancient Greeks believed that the earth was but an island, surrounded on all sides by the great river Oceanus. And if the land was the world of men, then the water was a world of pure magic, where the laws of gravity gave way to the laws of currents. Listen to the rhythm of the surf. This is the very breath of Poseidon. Yet the Lord of the Seas rarely appeared to mortals in his true terrifying form. More often people saw those who inhabited the shallows and coral gardens, the Nereids, 50 sisters, the daughters of the ancient sea god Nereus. Gaze upon their form. In our journey they are not dangerous sirens luring sailors onto the rocks, but merciful spirits of the water. Their skin is whiter than sea foam, and their hair holds the hue of sun-dried turquoise or deep-sea green. Imagine how they move. It is not swimming in the human sense, but a dance in weightlessness. When a Nereid rises to the surface, the water around her begins to glow with a soft, phosphorescent light. Feel this state. You are lying on the sun-warmed sand. The sun touches your closed eyelids, and in your ears dwells the steady, lulling hum of the water. The ancient Greeks believed that in such moments the Nereids would come ashore. They bring with them the coolness of the depths and a tranquility that cannot be found on land. They were the patronesses of sailors, those who calmed the storm with a single gesture. In this image lies the human belief that even the most uncontrollable element has its own kind, creative soul. But if we peer deeper to where the sunlight does not penetrate, we meet the Tritons, half men, half fish, with bodies covered in fine scales that shimmer with all the colors of the rainbow, from deep indigo to vibrant emerald. Imagine the sound of their shells. The Tritons carried with them massive twisted shells, buccinas. When a storm brewed in the ocean, the Tritons blew into them, and this sound, low, visceral, vibrating in the very chest, forced the waves to lie down. Feel this vibration. It passes through the thickness of the water, through the hull of your ship, directly into your heart. It is the voice of the abyss itself, reminding us that the sea is not just a surface for travel, but a giant living organism requiring respect and silence. In the sea depths also dwelt the ancient hippocampus, the seahorse with a fish's tail. Its powerful front legs churned the water, and its long, scaly tail left a glowing trail behind it. The ancient Greeks saw in it a symbol of untamable energy. Upon the hippocampi rode the entourages of the gods, turning the sea's surface into an arena for a magnificent parade. Water in the antique bestiary was the cradle of life. The ocean did not divide countries, it connected them. Looking at the sea horizon, a Greek felt not fear of the void, but awe before infinity. Beneath every wave lay a hidden city, and in every shell lived its own spirit. It was a time when the world was full of secrets, and the greatest of them was hidden where the blue of the sky melts into the blue of the water. Our long wanderings draw to a close. The sun slowly sinks behind the rim of the world, painting the mountain peaks in colors of old copper and pale gold. The shadows become long and dense, and in this soft twilight, reality finally merges with dream. We ascend to a stony plateau where, at the edge of a precipice, motionless as eternity itself, sits the Sphinx. Observe her form in the rays of the sunset. In our quiet journey, she is not a bloodthirsty monster, but the greatest philosopher of the ancient world. The body of a lion is embodying earthly power, the wings of an eagle pointed toward the sky, and the face of a woman filled with unearthly calm. She does not attack, she waits. Feel this silence. Up here, the wind dies down, and one can only hear, far below, the sea continuing its eternal conversation with the stones. The Sphinx is the guardian of the boundary between knowledge and ignorance. Her riddles were not a trap for the mind, but a mirror for the soul. The ancient Greeks believed that to meet the Sphinx was to meet oneself. She asks questions for which there are no simple answers, forcing the traveler to stop and realize who he is, where he came from, and where his life's path leads. In her eyes, large and dark, is reflected the entire world we have traversed, the heavens of Pegasus, the forests of Chiron, and the abysses of the Nereids. But why do we not see them today? Why are the forests of Arcadia silent, and why do the tritons no longer blow their shells? The ancients said that the bestiary has not vanished. It has simply become invisible to eyes that have grown too accustomed to the bright light of technology. We have stopped noticing the dryads because we have stopped listening to the trees. We have lost Pegasus because we have forgotten how to look at the sky with hope. But these creatures are not figments of the imagination. They are metaphors for our own feelings, our connection to the planet that gives us life. Close your eyes. In this final silence, feel the world around you become three-dimensional. The ancient bestiary is still here. It is in the whisper of the wind, in a sudden flash of inspiration, in the stillness of deep sleep. They retreated into the shadows only to become part of our inner world. The stars begin to ignite over Olympus. Each of them is someone's footprint, someone's story, frozen in the celestial ether. Our journey is over, but the mystery remains. And perhaps tonight, when sleep gently touches your shoulders, you will again hear the distant rustle of wings, or the soft laughter of a nymph by the stream. The ancient world does not say goodbye to you. It simply waits for the moment you decide to return. For as long as we remember these stories, the gods and heroes, centaurs and sphinxes, continue to live within the rhythm of our hearts. Good night, and may your dreams be as deep and calm as the waters of the Aegean on a windless night. Thank you for wandering through these ancient paths with me tonight. If these stories brought you peace, consider subscribing to our channel and becoming a part of our quiet community. There are many more portals to open and many more secrets to uncover. Until next time, sleep well, and may your journey continue in your dreams. Goodbye for now.